Known across the galaxy for their love of battle and disorder, orcs are characterized by their primal love for conflict and anarchy. This race, engineered for war by ancient alien biosciences, thrives in chaos, their societal structures and individual developments deeply entwined with their inherent drive for battle. Among the multitude of orc warriors, a rare few rise above the rank and file, becoming figures of legendary status known as Prime Orks. These towering leaders are not merely products of typical orc society, but represent the zenith of orc potential, emerging under unique conditions of war and survival. The evolution of a prime orc is a phenomenon rooted in the very fabric of orc biology and culture, heavily influenced by the ceaseless warfare that defines their existence. In orc society, power and leadership are gained and maintained through physical prowess and martial success. An orc must continuously prove their strength and strategic capabilities to ascend and, more importantly, to retain leadership. For an orc to reach prime status, they must not only dominate their peers but also exhibit an extraordinary ability to unify and lead vast numbers of orcs across clans and tribes, often catalyzing these disparate groups into a massive orc warband. Prime orcs are distinguished from their brethren by several significant traits. They are giants among orcs, their bodies sculpted by the rigors of combat to an almost mythic stature. This physicality allows them to wield tremendous power on the battlefield, often turning the tide of battle single-handedly. Unlike typical orcs, whose approach to combat is often straightforward and chaotic, Prime Orks display a cunning and foresight in warfare that belies the brutish nature of their race. They are highly intelligent tacticians, often fluent in High Gothic and capable of organizing massive invasions, and holding together the notoriously fickle and fractious orc hordes. The ability to inspire and lead is paramount for a Prime Ork. Their sheer presence commands respect and obedience from other orcs, driven by a combination of fear, admiration, and the orc's innate following of strength. The concept of Prime Orks is deeply interlinked with that of the ancient Krorks, their formidable ancestors created as part of an ancient bioengineering project aimed at producing the perfect soldiers during the war in heaven. Millions of years in the past, Krorks were larger, smarter, and far more organized than the modern orc, and it is speculated that Prime Orks represent a genetic throwback to these ancient beings. The appearance of a Prime Ork may suggest a latent genetic potential that surfaces under extreme circumstances, possibly a remnant of the orc's engineered origins, meant to emerge when the orcs face existential threats. Thus, Prime Orks not only embody the pinnacle of orc evolution, but also a bridge to their past, holding within them the keys to understanding the full potential of orc kind under the pressures of galactic warfare. It is fortunate for the Imperium of Man that the rise of a Prime Ork is a rare occurrence. Since the Great Crusade launched across the stars, a mere handful have threatened to develop the power needed to imperil humanity. Near the onset of the Crusade, the Emperor and Horus barely defeated a gargantuan mech-boy warboss on the scrap world of Goro, diminishing the greenskin threat in the Segmentum Solar. Horus would also be responsible for the demise of Uruk, the war boss of a massive orc empire centered around the planet Ulanor. Horus and his Justerin Terminators entered his fortress and drove directly for the war boss and his retinue of nobs, ending the orc threat at enormous cost. Emerging in the 32nd millennium, once again on the world of Ulanor, the beast led what was perhaps the greatest orc invasion ever seen, coming perilously close to destroying Terra itself. His leadership, aided by 6 lesser Prime Orks, was marked by a combination of military might, political manipulation, and psychological warfare. The beast was more than just a war boss. He was an emperor who united the Ork tribes like never before, creating a pseudo-empire that posed a legitimate threat to the Imperium's existence. His ability to coordinate across multiple star systems and inspire a near-mythical reverence among Orks categorizes him as a Prime Ork. Despite a series of fierce battles, including a notable duel where Vulcan and the Beast were believed killed in a catastrophic explosion, the Beast survived. His reign of terror continued until a final confrontation on Ulanor, where he was ultimately killed by a psychic ritual executed by the Imperial forces led by Maximus Thane. This ritual caused the deaths of the Beast and the remaining Prime Orks under his command, leading to the eventual disintegration of his empire. The protracted conflict concluded with a century-long crusade to eradicate the remaining Ork forces, cementing the downfall of one of the greatest threats the Imperium had ever faced. Now, in the 41st millennium, the galaxy faces a renewed threat from the Orks, spearheaded by Ghazghkull Uruk Thraka, an Ork warboss whose notoriety and strategic prowess are rapidly approaching the legendary status once held by the Beast. Ghazghkull, revered as a prophet of the Ork gods Gork and Mork, has mobilized a massive Waaagh that spans much of the galaxy, aiming to unite the scattered Ork tribes under his singular vision of conquest and destruction. Having orchestrated the devastating Second and Third Wars for Armageddon, Ghazghkull demonstrated his capacity to challenge the Imperium's might through both overwhelming force and cunning tactics. His leadership has not only invigorated the Ork population, but has also brought a level of coordination and purpose typically rare among Ork kind, signaling a significant evolution in their approach to warfare. This movement, ever-growing and increasingly coordinated, endangers not only the Imperium, but all other civilizations caught in its path. As the Orks grow in number and ferocity, the galaxy braces for what could become an era of destruction and chaos, potentially surpassing the dark days of the Beast's reign. The response of the galaxy's powers will determine the fate of countless worlds as they face this relentless tide of green.